Hello there and welcome. So, if you're tuning in, heads up that the webinar is now live. If you can't hear, make sure that your speakers are unmuted because there's no telephone dial in for today's webinar. In case we haven't met, my name is Jacqueline and I lead Pro Advisor training and certification and am honored to be the host of In the Know. All right, so on today's In the Know, we'll be starting with bulletin board announcements, good things for you to keep top of mind or resources to engage in. We'll then move on to the product innovation section where you'll learn more about improvements to automated payroll taxes. You'll then find out what's new in Intuit ProConnect Tax, and then we'll discover the best use of QuickBooks Bill Pay. So 3 really great topics that we'll round out by touching on resources for you and your team. All right. So if you've been with us on In the Know, this won't be new, but in case this is your first time, we love fielding your questions. You can engage with the team that's working hard behind the scenes through using the Q&A button on your Zoom panel. There are many of you and just a few of us, so give us a bit of grace and patience as we do our best to answer as many questions as possible, although we likely will not be able to get to all of them. Please only submit questions related to the content featured on today's program. If you have a specific question about your own client or firm, you can always direct those to the care team on the number listed here. All right, so CPE credits in case you are looking for CPE from today's program. You will need to attend for at least 15 minutes and answer at least one of the 4 poll questions that will be presented, and then we will shoot your CPE certificate to you within about a week of the program. If you have any questions about CPE or training in general, you can always reach out to us at accountant_training@intuit.com. All right, so we'll move in now to the bulletin board announcement section of the program. So first up is a client advisory services ebook for those of you who serve clients with agriculture. You can go ahead and download your copy here or scan that QR code with the little dinosaur in the middle of it. Really great resource to dive more into this is if this is relevant to you based on the clients that you serve. Next up, I'd love to highlight an upcoming webinar. So this is QuickBooks and Fishbowl inventory versus NetSuite. So if you have questions about the pros and cons of either approach or how to best put QuickBooks and Fishbowl to work to serve those inventory-based clients, please do join us. You can register here by clicking on that link or scanning the QR code. So that's it on the bulletin board section. We'll now move on to the meat of the program, which are the product innovations that you've tuned in for. So we'll kick it off by talking about improvements to automated payroll taxes. And to talk about this, I'm pleased to welcome Sean to the show. So Sean, if you could go ahead and share your screen and come on camera, really happy to have you here.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I'll share my screen. So thank you all for taking the time to listen to the update. My name is Sean, and I'm on the QuickBooks payroll team based in Mountain View. And so I'd love to start off with a quick poll, which is love you to think about the most challenging client you've ever had. How often would they receive tax notices for missed deadlines? And so think about clients that might have had cash flow issues, might not have be keeping track of different invoices or deadlines, and just answer the question here.
Well, Sean, as folks take about 60 seconds or so to answer the poll question, I'd love to hear from you as you've been talking to business owners and to pro advisors. What have you been hearing? Any interesting insights or trends that you could share?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've been hearing repeatedly is that accountants that work with QuickBooks, they really strive for almost perfection, and even once in terms of missing tax deadlines is too much. And so really anything that helps their clients miss or avoid missing tax deadlines is beneficial.
Makes sense. Well, we can go ahead and end the poll and share those results. So, Sean, back over to you.
Awesome. Am I still sharing my screen or did it
You
drop?
are. You are.
Awesome. So, um, are you able to view the results?
The audience is, and it looks like most people answered 49% of it folks answered that more than once is their answer, and for other people, somewhat regularly.
Yeah, well, I think that definitely illustrates just how much of a need this is. So I think you'll be excited to hear about this feature. So, at a high level, basically, our approach for this feature is that we have been hearing a lot from accountants that withdrawing taxes, the current way that we do it, is somewhat of a challenge. It's done at the time of tax deadlines, and so we've heard from accountants that are actually switching to payroll providers that withdraw taxes automatically on payday. And this is because some of the customers, it's difficult to track multiple withdrawal dates for payroll and taxes, which can lead to them missing tax deadlines that they didn't budget for, and just overall leaving customers with a difficult picture of how much they owe tax agencies and when. And so as a result of this, we are making an update to our QuickBooks Payroll automated taxes feature, which moves to withdrawing taxes on payday or when there's a change in liabilities for all customers with automated taxes. What this does is sets aside money automatically for all upcoming tax deadlines for which tax setup is completed. And what this results in is that the payroll bank account balance after payday is reflective of all the payroll and tax obligations as of that date, as opposed to needing a second withdrawal at a later date just for taxes. So in terms of who's getting the update, all existing customers are going to be, with auto tax on, will be getting the update either on 10/1 or in the coming months, 2025 for Canada. New US customers should get the update by 9/20. And if you have auto tax on, um, and auto payroll on, the primary admin is going to need to provide consent by clicking on a notification in payroll. So you should check payroll settings to see if auto tax is turned on. In terms of the why, we wanted to provide more consistency in terms of dates, give the ability to set aside money on an ongoing basis versus having this large lump sum taken out at tax time, and decrease the possibility of tax notices while still maintaining the ability for customers to file payroll taxes themselves by turning auto tax off. So for those of you who pay taxes manually by going into Payroll Tax Center, that functionality will still remain, but just this is a change that will apply to those with automated taxes. So moving on, here are a couple of screenshots in product, and we're actually going to follow up with a demo to show some of this experience in product. The biggest changes are to the run payroll flow and the payroll tax center, which now reflect that taxes will be withdrawn on payday alongside your employee wages. There will also be an email that's sent out showing tax withdrawal amounts the day before the taxes are withdrawn for each of the jurisdictions. And for those of you who are getting the change on October 1, there's a notification that should have started showing up on July 1, as well as an email that basically describes the change, and also tells you if you have auto payroll and need to specifically consent. So I'm really excited about some of these enhancements to these experiences and product. So I'll have a quick demo and make sure that. So as you can see here, the customer is logged into payroll and is about to pay their employees. This customer has employees in multiple states and pays them both using paper checks and direct deposit. They have some employees on auto payroll and some on manual payroll. And so now you can see some of the changes that we made to this experience. There's now a total payroll cost, and it's broken down into automated withdrawals and manual withdrawals. So this includes both paper checks as well as direct deposits, and breaks down the taxes in terms of what is automatically withdrawn for you by QuickBooks and what you need to pay tax manually in the payroll tax center. This might be because they might not have taxes set up for a specific jurisdiction, or reasons like that. They also have deductions and contributions here. So after the customer submits payroll, they're told which days the direct deposits are going to come out for both their taxes and their payroll for all their employees, which are now on the same day. And you can see this is the case for all their employees. And there's also some employees that they need to pay manually with paper checks. So moving over to the payroll tax center, you can see a lot of enhancements here as well. There's now a status bar at the top that breaks down the tax obligations into those that are being paid automatically, those that are past due, and those that where needs further action on the part of the employee to either enter in federal or state tax IDs or designate into it as a third-party authorization to pay their taxes. There's also a new report that shows the payment history and all for all of the different jurisdictions that have been paid. So I will actually switch gears a little bit for a quick testimonial, actually, from one of the accountants who was part of the beta test and had a pretty good experience. So I'll share this brief video as well. So being, one of the first customers to experience the change to auto tax, how are you feeling about it? And I guess like what have been some of the benefits in terms of like, avoiding, some of these negative experiences you were talking about?
Yeah, no, it's really been great. Again, there's always been that part where it was being handled, but I had to kind of keep a mental note, right, that those payroll liabilities existed. That money had to stay secretly earmarked in the bank account to be remitted later. It's doable. I think different parties struggle with it at different levels, and maybe it's easier for accountants, but it's a lot better for me to say, look, payroll's run, it's done, it's processed, right? The entirety of that exercise is done. The payroll's gone out, the taxes have been remitted, the filing is as good as done. So rather than it being, although not steps I had to complete, a two-step process, now it feels like a single step process, which also means anytime that I look at my bank account, it's accurate. It doesn't reflect any kind of payables, doesn't reflect any kind of liabilities, doesn't reflect anything that I may or may not owe Uncle Sam at any given minute. It's just fully resolved.
That's great to hear. And so that was one of the accountants that we've worked with that has experienced this feature. So yeah, very excited. And I am curious to hear what questions the audience has.
Thanks, Sean, for that demo and for the awesome video. Shout out to Matt Skinner. He is a pro advisor many of us know and love and is also serving on council. So awesome to see him featured here. Okay, so I've got 3 questions for you that have come through. The first, you hit on this earlier, but if you could touch on it again. Do pro advisors need to opt into this on behalf of their clients, or does it happen automatically?
Yes. So it depends on whether or not they have auto tax on and also if they have auto payroll on. So just as a quick clarification, automated taxes is referring to when payroll taxes are paid automatically. Auto payroll is for salaried employees and for employee payroll. For those who have auto tax on, they should have gotten the primary admin should have gotten an email on July 1. And if it said that they were going to get a change on October 1, and they run payroll manually, then there isn't any action necessary. They'll just get the change starting on October 1. If they have auto tax and auto payroll, then the primary admin does need to log in at some point before September 30, and there will be a big notification on the payroll overview. I showed it earlier. There's really nothing you can do in payroll until you click on it, so it's very hard to miss. And that's what they would need to click on to continue using the feature. But if you didn't get an email saying that are going to get the change on 10/1, it's going to be at a later date.
Awesome. Lots of rich information there. As a reminder to attendees, you can download the slide deck as a handout through clicking on the link that you see here on this slide. Okay, Sean, next question for you. If you could clarify, we know that now for those folks who opt into this experience of having payroll taxes withheld automatically, does QuickBooks then remit those payments to the appropriate tax agencies?
Yes, and for those of you who have already been using auto tax, like this isn't a new feature. We've had this for a couple of years now, and if you've used it, then taxes have been set up, then you'll know that they are withdrawn right before the tax date and submitted to the various agencies that have been set up. So I think we've heard feedback from customers that auto tax doesn't work right. That might be because the customer hasn't submitted the correct federal and state IDs and designated into it as a TPA for a specific state. But for the jurisdictions that they are set up, it'll be withdrawn. And the change is that instead of being withdrawn at the time of the tax date, it's just withdrawn at the time of payday. So that instead of that big sort of balloon payment at the end of the tax period, now it's earlier and in installments. So yeah, no change aside from just when the tax payments are being withdrawn.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for those thoughtful answers and for spending time with us on In the Know. So that brings this portion of the product innovations to a close, and we will turn now to Jeremy to talk to us about some other exciting updates on ProConnect Tax. So, Jeremy, over to you.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, I am excited to be here and talk to you about some stuff on ProConnect. So I'm Jeremy Herbal. I'm a product manager on ProConnect Tax, and we are going to start off with a poll. So we want to know how many of your clients' tax returns are dependent on data from financial statements or books. And we have some different options there. If you don't prepare taxes, you can that none are not applicable. For everyone else, go ahead and let us know about how many returns you do that would depend on these.
Okay, Jeremy, folks have about 60 seconds to answer the poll. So, as they do, sort of similar to what I asked Sean during the payroll section, what have you been hearing as you've been diving in and speaking with pro advisors?
It can really vary based on the type of firm, especially if they niche into a certain market. But in general, a lot of firms are going to have at least a handful of clients that end up needing the data from books or different financial statements. A lot of people, even if they're just filing individually, they still end up having like a Schedule C that is going to require the information. So a lot of firms we talk to have at least a couple of these, but we certainly have firms that are doing almost all of their returns are like this, or at least a significant number of them are like this.
Well, thanks for sharing those insights. We've ended the poll and we can now share the results. So, Jeremy, if you want to talk through the results, that would be fantastic, and then take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it looks like a little over a quarter of you are in the none or not applicable area, which is honestly a little bit lower than I was expecting from this group today. And then 37% of you are in that 21 to 50 range, which is about what I was thinking, that we'd probably have quite a few that are in that upper tier who are doing more than that. All right. So with that in mind, we wanted to talk to you today about the Prep for Taxes feature. So this might be something that some of you are already familiar with. We have had Prep for Taxes for quite a while available in QuickBooks Online Accountant. And just real quick, this is the ability for you to bring the books data from your QuickBooks client right into the tax return in ProConnect Tax. But specifically what we wanted to highlight today is we've added some additional features this last tax season that are going to help. So we heard from our customers that but they liked the feature. They found that it was very beneficial to them and it saved them time, but it wasn't quite there. It was missing some additional features that they needed. And a couple of those big pain points they had is that if they were bringing that data in from the books, sometimes the person who prepared the books was not the same person who was doing the taxes. And so maybe the tax mapping they set up wasn't quite right. Or maybe there were adjustments that needed to be made, like those tax adjustments that aren't going to be reflected in the books. And they had to go and make those manually outside of the application and keep track of that work paper along with the tax return. So they wanted to have some more flexibility in how they actually handle the classification of the data coming in. And the other thing we heard is that they wanted to have some more checks built in where they could actually have a chance to really feel like they're reviewing the data appropriately. So of course we had the ability for you to see what data was going to come in, but we've now added an additional view for you to use in order to really see a side by side. So we'll take a look at what that is. So who is this available for? This is available for any of our accountants who are using QuickBooks Online Accountant and ProConnect Tax. You will be able to use this feature. You're going to be able to find it by when you're in your client's books from within QBOA, go up to Accounting Tools and then Prep for Taxes, and then you'll be able to start the process there. That tax mapping is going to be that first screen within the Prep for Taxes workflow. We're going to start doing stuff for getting the taxes in. This is live today. Like I said, we did start rolling this out during last tax year 23 season, kind of peak season. And so it is available today, and it will be available going forward to everyone in the US. So again, just for a little quick context setting on what it is I'm talking about, we do have the Prep for Taxes feature. This is going to allow you to, within QuickBooks or the QuickBooks Online Accountant experience, you're going to be able to make any sort of adjustments you need to. And these are going to be like adjusting entries where you're actually making journals that are hitting the books and things like that. But then you also have that tax mapping where you're going to say, this account from the QuickBooks chart of accounts is going to map to this line item in the tax return. So those are the main things you're going to do within the Prep for Taxes flow on the QuickBooks side. And it's going to look very similar to this. You do have a few different views you're going to be able to change from here, but to give you an idea of what that looks like. Now, one of the things that we've added right now that we wanted to highlight is the tax line adjustments. There is going to be a new experience now where you'll see this experience within ProConnect. So if you're familiar with the Books to Taxes workflow today, this is going to be brand new to you, but it's going to look a lot like what you see within the QuickBooks side. So on the QuickBooks side, you have the ability to make those tax mappings, you have the ability to do adjustments. You now have a very similar experience on the ProConnect side where you will be able to adjust those tax mappings if you need to. So maybe the person who set them up wasn't exactly sure where they needed to go. You're going to be able to fix them within ProConnect. You also are going to be able to do any of the tax adjustments that you need to do. So any of those adjusting entries where it's going to affect the tax value but doesn't affect the book value, you'll be able to make those adjustments here, and we create a record that's going to stay with the return. So you'll have that audit for later. You can go back and see exactly what adjustments were made and be able to kind of track that and see what that is. From here, you're going to have the option of either going straight into the return, or you have the option of having that review step. Like I mentioned, some of our customers said they really wanted to have that extra piece of confidence of being able to see what was the data and where is it going. So we added this side-by-side view where you will be able to see all of the account line items on the left and then the output of those on the right and what it's going to actually look like in the return. So this will give you a preview of what the data is going to flow into the return and actually give you those final values. If you're happy with it, you can import it. If you see something that doesn't look right, you're going to be able to hit back, go back to that previous screen and make any adjustments that you need to. With that, I'm going to do a quick little demo right now, or rather play a little demo where we actually are going to see this in action. So let me get this queued up for us real quick. and get us into full screen. I'm just going to jump right into it. So as I mentioned, you're going to be able to enter it from here, go to Prep for Taxes. You'll have ProConnect selected as your tax software. And then in the upper right, that's how you're going to be able to get it into ProConnect. From here, we'll give you a quick little window to let you know, hey, here's the new experience. You can hit that don't show again if you never want to see this again, and it will go away. And then here's where you're going to be able to make those adjusting entries. So you can do any tax line mapping adjustments. You can hit that little pen, make any adjustments you need to here. So if it needs to go to a different line, you'll be able to do that. You also have the new tax adjustments where these are not going to be journals on the books, but you're going to make those adjusting entries that are going to only affect the tax line items. So you can make those entries here. It's a very similar experience to actually making the journal entries. The last thing we have is you can download a CSV of all of those adjusting entries. So I mentioned we keep those as records, but you also are going to be able to download them if you need to. And lastly, you can import that data straight into the return. And once it's in, you'll be able to continue working on this return as needed. One thing that I did not mention and wasn't really highlighted here, you can also, if you already have an existing return for this client, you do have the ability to just bring this into that return. You don't have to create a brand new return every time. All right, so the other thing I wanted to point out is in the handout, if you reference that, we do have a lot of additional information on this available to you. So you will be able to go to any of those links and get additional information, read through the articles we have that talk through step by step how to perform all of these different things. You can get a video that I just played that's going to have the demo of how this all works, where to go to find everything. And then lastly, we have just where you can sign in and find more about this. So with that, I would love to hear some questions.
Jeremy, thanks so much for the update and the demo. Lots of excitement in the chat. So let me throw a few questions out at you. So first is sort of around access. The question is, if you don't use ProConnect Tax, so for those pro advisors out there that aren't yet using that product, are they still able to use the Prep for Taxes tool?
Absolutely. So you can use the Prep for Taxes tool within QuickBooks Online Accountant, and you would be able to download that information. If you're using one of our desktop products, so Cert or Pro Series, those are additional options for you to download. So in that little demo you saw where it had ProConnect selected, our desktop software is an option as well. But if you're using some completely different tax software that is not Intuit, you can download that information. So you do have other options. It's just obviously not going to be as seamless as it is with ProConnect.
Makes sense. Okay, that's perfect. That actually answered quite a few questions. So thank you for expanding on that. Sort of in a similar vein about usage, could pro advisors use this tool for their own firm?
That is a wonderful question. Unfortunately, not at the moment. It only is going to work for those clients that have QuickBooks connected to your QuickBooks Online Accountant account. We are exploring ways for you to use it for your own firm. I know that is something a lot of customers would love to have, and so we are looking into it, but it is not something that is available today, unfortunately.
Ro- we'll put that on the roadmap. Sounds like there's an appetite there for that. Okay, so I'll get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty now with some of these questions. So the next one is, how can pro advisors confirm that accounts are accurately mapped to the tax return?
Got it. So yeah, in the process, you do have the ability when you first bring the data in that screen, once you're in ProConnect, you will be able to see all of the line items and how they're mapped. So you'll actually see the tax mapping in terms of which account goes to which line item on that screen and make any adjustments that you need to there. And then we do have that review option now, which is a brand new step where you can see on the left is going to be all of the map or the tax items, and then on the right you'll see the output of returns. So you can see where those line items are actually going on the return to really be confident that everything is going to the right place. And we give you the ability to change or fix anything that you need to do before you actually get the data into the return.
Fantastic. Okay, another nitty-gritty question for you. Uh, are the tax mappings and adjustments for separate filing entities, or can it be done for a Schedule C business as well?
Got it. It could be done for a Schedule C. So you have the ability to bring data into a business return or an individual's 1040 on the Schedule C. And this workflow applies for everything that is in that prep for taxes workflow experience.
Awesome. Okay, Jeremy, last question for you. And you touched on this in the fast facts, but is this available in Canada? And if not, any roadmap plans that you might feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, so this exact experience is not available in Canada. Canada does have something similar where you are able to do some of this. I don't have any exact timelines on when we'd have something that's exactly like this, but within the Canada product, for our Canada tax products, there actually is a very similar experience where we do have this available for them.
No. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much. And for folks who are tuning in, like Jeremy said, lots of rich resources that he included. You can access those through clicking on that download link. And then you can digest it on your own time or share it around your firm. So, Jeremy, thank you so much. With that, I am pleased to welcome Carla Caldwell on the show. Um, Many of you might know Carla. She is a longtime firm leader, pro advisor, trainer. Typically, we have our Intuit product leaders present on the show, but we heard from you that you wanted a deeper dive into QuickBooks Bill Pay. So this was presented on the show a few months back. Jorge, one of the product managers here, gave a wonderful update on QuickBooks Bill Pay, now in QuickBooks Online Accountant. And so upon hearing that you wanted a little bit more information, we knew that Carla would be the perfect person to lead this segment of the show, sort of relay some of the insights about how she's put this to work at her firm. So Carla, let me invite you on. If you could share it, there you are. Hi.
Hi.
Perfect. Well, let me pass it over to you to give folks a spin through QuickBooks Bill Pay.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored to be here with everybody. And I do have a firm, Caldwell Consulting and Training, and my accounting practice is Candela Accounting and Advisory Services. So it's really fun. I'm using QuickBooks Bill Pay in my own firm. So I'm going to share some things. There's a lot of information in the slides, and I don't know if I have how much time I have, but I probably won't get to every gory detail in all the slides. So feel free to download those because they will have a lot of information in there. So first and foremost, as we're getting started using QuickBooks Bill Pay, we need to set it up. And I think of this a little bit like QuickBooks Payments, where we're receiving money from our clients are receiving money from customers directly in QBO. And so they actually have to go in and set it up and apply to receive those payments. And here we're going to be applying to do QuickBooks Bill Pay. So really important that we have our customers involved in that process. And so we are going to be setting that up in the application. So what we do is we activate that QuickBooks Bill Pay application process by going in and actually starting to set up, like we're going to schedule a payment. And so what is going to happen is you'll apply for that. I'll show you that in just a second. This particular screen you're looking at here, and I'm sorry, I couldn't do it in a live one because all I have is real life clients. So we're just doing it on slides here. In this one, we are seeing that it is super simple to just kind of go in, select the bank you're going to pay from, the bill you're going to pay, who the vendor is, how you're going to pay them, and so on. And so that's what we're doing here. But backing up one step, who can use QuickBooks Bill Pay? Well, everybody using QuickBooks Online. And of course, us as accountants using our QuickBooks Online Accountant account, the one that we use to manage our own firm. So if your firm is using QBO for your actual bills and your accounting system, right, in your books in QBOA, you can also use QuickBooks Bill Pay yourself, which is pretty cool. So it's our clients and us as accountants. Oh, did someone have a question? Oh, sounded like there was noise. I apologize. It must be me. Okay, So what does it cost to use that? You're going to see that there are 3 different subscription levels that you can use, and we'll see that in a minute. And I think the pricing is on there. If not, of course, just to go onto QuickBooks website, and it has that payment information in there. But stay tuned on that payment stuff. I have some more information to tell you about on the bill pay subscription plans, and we'll get to those in just a minute. So if your firm is actually one that is paying for your client's QuickBooks Online file. So you know how we do the Pro Advisor preferred pricing, or what we used to call wholesale billing, where the accounting firm is paying for the client's subscription to QuickBooks Online, then they can go, you as the accounting professional can go into where your subscriptions are in QBOA, and then add QuickBooks Bill Pay to that. And so that's exactly what you would see here, and they can sign up and do that. What the clients are going to do, though, is if they are paying for their subscription and you have access to their docs, then the client can go in and choose to do that as well. Now, one of the things that I really like about this is that we can choose the client for the client to pay for their QuickBooks Bill Pay portion of the subscription. So let me explain what I mean there. So I'm paying for my client's QBO subscription. It's a flat amount every single month. I can either choose to include that in my own pricing, or I send it to, bill it to my customer, however you guys are taking care of your regular QBO subscription, but it's a flat amount. With QuickBooks Bill Pay, it depends on which subscription level they're on and how many bills they paid, and did they pay some by checks and all of that. So it can vary. So I don't want to be paying for that for my clients most of the time. I want them to pay for it. And Intuit's letting us do that. We can actually let our clients pay for their billing on QuickBooks Bill Pay. So we can have our clients apply to do QuickBooks Bill Pay, and then recommend the right subscription for the client, and then they will be the ones that confirm and pay for that. So I really like that. They call it split billing. And so I really like that ability to be able to do that. So and again, all of these slides have this information here. So the client billed customer direct sign up. Ooh, it's a big words. Lots of information in that little brief sentence there. But they can do this from the bills tab. So they go in like they're paying their bills, and they're going to see an option to schedule payment, and then it'll immediately pop up and say, which one do you want to do? You need to apply, and they'll fill out that information. So that really makes it a lot easier for them. Or if they're in a bill, they can click on that schedule payment. Okay, so here's the information about the subscription plans. There's 3 plans: basic, premium, and elite. You can see the gory details there. I really like this basic one for my clients that just only have to pay bills every once in a while. It used to be they would go into their bank and kind of do 1 or 2 bill payments a month. Now this can all be done in QBO, and it's basically a free subscription level for them, $0. You can read all the fine print there, of course, all that stuff. Then there's kind of a mid-tier plan that they get 40 free ACH a month. And then they can also get their 1099s processed through there as well. And then there's Elite, where obviously a much more robust option for them. And that is really helpful for clients that need to be doing a bit more role-based permissions in there as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. So 3 different plans depending on the needs of the client. So it's really pretty powerful. All right, now let's talk about those role-based. So we have 3 different roles that are available, and those roles are going to be, in my mind, bill clerk. That's the person that is going to be able to manage vendors, add new vendors, add the bills, and so on. Now, it's possible that sometimes the client may handwrite a check for a bill, or maybe they paid it by credit card, things like that. So they are able to mark a bill as paid, but they're not able to pay bills. They're just entering things in the system. A bill approver is somebody who is able to say, yes, that bill should get paid. So the bill clerk put it in, the bill approver approves it. And then lastly, we would have a separate role that would be for a bill payer, who is then able to, of course, initiate money leaving the company to pay the bill. So that is really helpful. So those split roles really provide some comfort and security and, segregation of duties that we've all wanted to have for our clients. They're able to do that right inside QBO, especially in QBO Advanced. Now, to get bills paid, we can schedule those payments. Those are scheduled using QuickBooks Bill Pay. It could be done where, once a week we pay the bills, but we schedule them for weeks in advance if we needed to, so that we don't have to worry about forgetting, missing deadlines, which is really important. So you would go into the system, choose the bank account for the payment, and then just double check which account it is in QBO, because these are the ones that are connected at the bank. And then on the right side, which one it is in QBO. We will confirm the type of payment that's going to be sent and the address, or if it's going to be paper check or the ACH information. One thing I don't think we show in here that I found really helpful when I was doing this last week for a client is that we can request that payment be entered in by the vendor securely. So we were doing a reimbursement to a board member for one of my nonprofits, and we were able to send them a request. They could enter their information in, and then it's stored securely for ACH, and they were able to get an ACH instead of a check in the mail. So they really like that a lot. And so here's the screenshots of what it looks like to actually do that. And then all that is done. There could be a little memo put in at the bottom, and then payment is scheduled, which is fantastic. And it is in fact going to send out an email to the vendor, and they will be notified that a payment is on its way. And this is exactly what that looks like for them, so they can see what's going on, including the note that they put in at the bottom of that if they so choose to do that. Of course, some of our clients have lots of bills, and so we would in fact be able to schedule a batch of payments. So a bunch that needs to be done. I used to call them a check run, but now it's just a payment run. And so you can go ahead and do that as well and get those scheduled out. And then of course, review those, see the number of bills, if there's any processing fees, depending on, what is happening there. Now, once the bills have been paid, we need to track it and make sure we know what's going on. So on that bills tab inside of QBO, you're going to see there's a section there that says paid. And then very specifically, let's show the bill pay payments. And it'll have a list of all the bills that have been paid, and a list of all the bill payments rather listed there that have paid those. And you can dive into that and see the details of it, exactly what happened. And when I click view details, it'll pull up the screen that shows you exactly what happened and everything that's going on. If you need to cancel a payment, you can select the option to cancel the payment. And if it's past the deadline, because they've literally already mailed the check, it'll let you know that it's too late and you can't cancel the payment at that point. And so pretty simple process, to be honest. And so I don't know about you guys, but I am pretty excited about it. I'm guessing some questions came through, Jacqueline. And so I would love to hear, I hope I can answer them.
Yeah, in fact, so many questions have come through. I'm struggling a little bit to figure out which one to send your way first. But just as a reminder to the audience, the wonderful Bill Pay team is working hard behind the scenes to answer as many as we possibly can. So just hang tight if they haven't answered your question yet. We will do our best. Carla, lots of interest in how you can handle billing and split this between the firm and the client. So maybe you could expand on that a bit.
Yeah, I really like this a whole lot. So especially for us, I mean, obviously if the client was already paying for their subscription, they'll just pay for this as well. That's easy peasy. It gets a little more complicated when our firm is paying for the client's subscription. So because that amount could change based on the volume of transactions they have and the subscription they're on, we can actually choose to continue paying for their QBO subscription, but allow the client to enter in their own payment information and pay that potentially varying amount each month that it could be for QuickBooks Bill Pay. So they call it split billing. And actually, and again, I can't show you, but if you're in QBOA and you go to the subscriptions and billing, there's a whole new section there called split bill. And so it was actually really pretty cool to see that the other day, because this is exactly what we set up and do for our clients. So just allows the client to pay for the bill pay part while we still pay for the QBO part.
Oh, Jorge, hi. Looks like
Jacqueline.
if you want to chime in, please feel free. So great having you here.
Great, thanks for inviting me. The one thing I want to highlight for split billing, particularly to bill pay, is currently not enabled. That is something we're working through, so that should be available in October. So if you try to split billing today, most likely it either cancels the account, so it won't be available until October.
Awesome.
Thank you for that clarification. Awesome having you on the call. So Jorge, Jorge, do you want to quickly introduce yourself to the audience in case they didn't catch you a few months back?
Oh, hi. So Jorge Cardenas, I'm on the go-to-market team for the Bill Pay group, and we have a bunch of our team members here helping answer questions. So we're here to kind of provide support. So keep on sending those questions over, and we'll do our best to address them all.
Awesome. I think I
Okay.
saw the area where it's coming, so that must be what it was.
Well, Carla, let me send you the next question. If you can answer it from your perspective as a firm leader.
Sure.
A few folks asked, what's the difference between bill pay and contractor payments? So how have you been thinking about this at your firm, or how has your team used these differently between different clients?
Yeah, we actually, our firm hasn't used contractor payments. I believe, and I know somebody will be on here to jump on this one. I believe that was kind of done through our, almost kind of through the backbone of QuickBooks payroll, but our firm doesn't do that as much. We are using either QuickBooks Online Payroll to pay contractors through the 1099 process. We have clients that are already using payroll and would just also be able to pay 1099s. What we're finding is that we are mostly going to be using this, obviously, for vendor payments, and some contractors would go through here, or expense reimbursements, like I said, with some of our board members and other employees every once in a while that are needing to just have a quick payment that is done. So that's how we've done that. So I'll let your team answer if they want to answer about the contractors versus this part, because we
Jorge,
use that.
anything you might add?
No, I think you covered it well. I think contractor payments is primarily focused on just paying contractors. So normally you would use that service if you are a business who has like long-term contractors who are treated like employees, right? So, but bill pay, on the other hand, in particular, if you select the premium or elite SKU, you're able to pay vendors and contractors. So like bills coming in through your vendors for other services who are not contractors. And so that's the key difference. But if you are paying contractors through bill pay, with the premium SKU, you get unlimited 1099 e-filing. So we would also like track those 1099 vendors and then be able to issue those 1099s at the end of the year.
So Jorge, let me send the next question your way, because we're really getting into more of the nitty gritty, which is there a dollar limit for payments made via bill pay? And if so, could you talk about what it is?
Great question. As a part of managing risk, right? Because we want to make sure we manage fraud and customers aren't experiencing fraud. We do have some limits in place, and we are revising them as we continue to kind of develop the product and meet our customers' needs better. So there are monthly limits or 30-day limits that we have in place. And then there are some transaction limits. We try to we are working towards providing more guidance on this. So what you'll see upcoming in the near future is within the product, you'll be able to see your specific limit for your clients and see how you're tracking against those limits. There will also be capability to provide or request limit increases. So if you have like specific, let's say if you're in a specific category, like a construction business where you know you have a big project coming up that's going to require a big payment, then you could request that increased limit for that payment. So I know a lot of our customers have, or some of our customers have experienced some limit issues. And so now we are making sure we have a way to address that in the near future. But our care team is there also to support to kind of review those limits and help address them.
Okay, last question, probably Jorge, one more for you, which is, can folks add attachments to bills within the product?
Great question. So I think one of the interesting things with bill pay is if you are using more of a manual system today, like a lot of our customers are using like getting mailed invoices and putting it in a folder and saving it that way. Bill pay and QBO, along with our Gen AI capabilities, our Intuit Assist capabilities enable us to now import invoices, right? So you can import visuals, PDF files of invoices in single or in batches, and now help create bills for you to review in QuickBooks. So now you don't have to type in each individual bill. It takes that invoice, saves that file, creates a bill for you to review, and you can save that bill or save and schedule that bill. It keeps that record there, that invoice record there. So now later on, you can go by vendor and look at a vendor and be like, oh, here are all the invoices I have for the vendor and all the bills I paid for them. So you have this record now of your invoices within QuickBooks versus having to have it separately.
Thank you. Jorge, Carla, that brings this section on bill pay to a close. Carla, thank you so much for leading the training and for your insight as a firm leader. And Jorge, thank you so much for chiming in on all the details. I am going to go ahead and share my screen again. So this poll will be anonymous, but we would love your feedback on how, on your take of us including product training within In the Know. It's a little bit different than what we typically do for our content segments, where you hear more of a news update from an Intuit product leader. But given the feedback that bill pay is just such a robust product and many features within it, we thought it might be valuable to do this. And it's just an absolute treat to get to have Carla Caldwell lead this section. So we're really grateful to her for her time. So again, this is just input for our program team. Please be honest. We will not share this. All right, it looks like most answers have come through. So we can go ahead and end this poll now. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. We are not sharing results here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the last portion of the program. But thank you so much for your feedback. We do very much take it to heart. All right, so new webinar platform. I actually get to share this section because it is an update on In the Know. And we're going to use our What We Heard, What We Did framework. But the headline here is that as of next month, we are moving on to a new webinar platform called Goldcast. So like I said, we very much take your feedback to heart, and we've been listening to what you had to share about In the Know in terms of the overall program experience. And some of the things we heard were, hey, it's kind of a pain having to wait a week to receive my CPE certificate. The handout isn't always easy to download if I miss it on a slide. I want to be able to send emojis where I'm liking something. And I also want more visibility into the topics that are going to be discussed in that month's particular webinar. So to address these programmatic elements, we are moving off of Zoom and onto a new webinar platform called Goldcast, so that we can deliver a more engaging experience that really meets your expectations and just allows us to interact more. So on that note, I want you to understand what this means for you. So first, if you are currently registered for the In the Know series, which you are if you're here with us today, so that's you, you will be automatically registered for all of our upcoming In the Know sessions through July of 2025. Just feels right to schedule out that far. I'm sure we'll be scheduling more after. Heads up that you will receive a confirmation email for each of those webinars, as well as a calendar hold, no later than September 1st. So in the next few weeks here, you will get a few In the Know emails from us. They're not spam. It just means that we're getting set up on our new system and we don't want you to miss a beat. Now, for folks on your team who want to register for upcoming In the Know programming, if they haven't already, they can register as per usual. We'll be updating our registration link so that it directs to our new home on Goldcast. So very excited to meet you on Goldcast next month and get your reaction to the new webinar platform. All right, and of course we have our In the Know Hub with yours truly. You can catch our on-demand video episodes there. We release one every week that dive into the topics that we've presented on the webinar program and also bring in the Pro Advisor perspective so that you can both get the product update as well as perspectives from your peers on how they've put it to work to either find those efficiencies within their firm or deliver better, richer services to their clients. So to find that, you can visit our In the Know Hub. The URL is here. Our Firm of the Future blog, lots of rich articles coming out there. And then Accountant University is where you can register for certification trainings, other types of trainings in our In the Know program. So final plug, please do download today's handout. You can find the link at the bottom of the slide. So that way you have the deck and all of the resources within it. So last poll, and again, this one's anonymous and it's just feedback to our programming team. We'd love to know, how likely are you to recommend today's webinar? So this is really specific feedback on today. Did you find value from what you heard and the topics that were presented? And if so, would you recommend it to a friend? You can give this a score. It's an NPS score, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high. Yes, I would absolutely recommend it. 1 being, hey, not so much this time around. So again, big thank you to our presenters today. And a big thank you to Rose Anderson, who is an absolute force of nature. She is running the show behind the scenes on In the Know and has also just put a tremendous amount of heart and effort into the migration onto Goldcast. So incredibly grateful for Rose and all of her efforts. All right, I think we have most answers for this, so we can go ahead and end the poll. We will not share results on this one. And let me just close it out by saying a huge thank you to our attendees. So to you, thank you so much for spending your time with us today, and we will catch you next month. So we'll see you then.